I think, it's been talked about earlier, but people are the most essential part of an F&B business. As fancy as a hotel or a restaurant, as gourmet is the menu, it is so, even today, so people dependent, whether it's the consistency of the food and the specific dish which comes out, whether it's how you're greeted or how your reservation is taken, because a lot of reservations are still taken on the phone, how each process of service is, and how at each stage it is actually the personal interaction and people which differentiate restaurants and unique concepts. So therefore it is truly an exciting time also for F&B professionals. Due to the fast-paced growth, there is a lot of action happening in this industry. Various segments, new segments, from QSR to fast casual and affordable casual, cafes, bars and lounges, casual and fine dining restaurants. And I think a lot of action happening, beyond where it was in the traditional hotels to malls, independent high streets and other locations like education, hospitals, corporate parks. So there's a lot of growth opportunities. So therefore there are tremendous opportunities for professionals both in companies and as entrepreneurs, and we will discuss that. I'm also a governing body member of the Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council, and there's a lot of good work being initiated in getting training partners to conduct skill training programs for entry level. And this is across the kitchen and service, and there is, lakhs of people going to be trained across a big challenge in the industry, and for restaurateurs is quality of trained people. I'm going to start with a question for AD. I think AD's done something very interesting where some of his kind of senior people have he's partnered with them to help create new concepts, which are still run under the Olive, with the Olive Group's umbrella. So that's, I think, been a very interesting where senior people have turned entrepreneurs, and I just wanted to get his, thoughts and view on how he did that and how that's helped.
All of us in the restaurant business struggle with attracting good talent, because even today, mainly they want to work in hotels. And those of us that have built good brands and good names struggle with having all our best people poached all the time at inordinately high, sums. As a company, we initiated 2 HR practices, which I feel are fairly trend-setting within the industry. One was that 2 of our best people, we invited them to form a separate company with us. They were both people who'd been with us for, I think one was 13 years, one was 10 years. And were quite the backbone, along with another group of people, of the company. And both had been made many offers outside the company. So they liked the idea, they put money in, they had skin in the game as well. And we floated a subsidiary, and that subsidiary has now opened 7 restaurants. That subsidiary basically has the Monkey Bar brands and the Fatty Bar brand, which is just coming to Delhi. So I think that was a great way for us as a company, one, to be able to offer that opportunity to people who've been very, loyal to us, but at the same time also for the company to grow way beyond my own bandwidth as a leader, so I think the same for all of us. And I think for a lot of people who are in the industry looking to get in, I think it's reassuring, perhaps inspiring, that opportunity does exist. You join the standalone sector, you can be a partner with your company down the line, so you're really building a long-term career path. The second trend-setting thing that we did was that we started an ESOP scheme. The board passed it. 5% of the company has been put aside in a pool, ESOP pool. Right now, about 40% of that has been shared between our top 13, 14 managers. Unfortunately, most of them don't quite appreciate the ESOP scheme. It's so new to the industry. So we're still having to, give fairly large increments. So in reality, it's not working that well, but I think it's a very good path. It's the right way. It's one of the good ways to try to keep people for the long term. And so the companies are pushing hard in that. And I think for us standalone players, especially as we build our companies, we're going to have to keep doing innovative new initiatives like this to be able to attract and keep good people.
Thanks. Zorawar, when you started massive restaurants a few years ago, you were starting new brands. You were starting in a way from scratch. What was the challenge and how did you overcome it in terms of attracting top talent to yourself when there was no actual brand established?
I'm going to use an old cliche term that Steve Jobs once used when he attracted the top guy from Pepsi to come and work for Apple. He said, "You want to sell sugared water the rest of your life, or do you want to change the world?" And honestly, not along the same lines, but I have had to use inspirational talk because we were such a new company, and when you're starting a new company, sometimes it gets a little difficult to attract good, fresh talent. But I had a big advantage. I had Jigs Kalra's name, right? So, sure, it adds a little bit of pressure. You got to keep the name flying high. But if they know that it's a company with a legacy, it's easier to attract talent fresh off the bat. So that is one of the key things. But one thing to look out for is that increasingly, and I've seen this industry grow over the past 7 years, we are seeing a major, major interest in the youth and in good talent in working for standalone companies. And the reason is simple. Just to put it in perspective, the Indian food and beverage industry is 24 times larger than Bollywood. So the next Shah Rukh Khan is probably going to be one of the guys that works in some of our restaurants, hopefully. So these guys are making good money. They're TV celebrity chefs. We had one of my favorite chefs in the world, Atul Kochar, on Skype a little while ago. And these are the kind of people that are acting as role models to the rest of the youth at large. And they want to take on the food and beverage industry, despite its long working hours and all of that. So I think it's a mix of, so initially to attract talent, you need to inspire them. I think people need to feel that there is a career path down the line. They need to have some kind of a future in sight. But once they're on board, the harder part, in my opinion, is to actually make them stay, to prevent attrition. We have knock wood, and I'm going to touch wood a few times here because these guys are really important for us. But honestly, we are very happy to know that our attrition rates are fairly low by industry standards. They're in the low single digits. One of the ways we do that is just by being accessible to your employees. We do a town hall once a month. And in sometimes me, myself, or the HR team is there available even longer. So they feel like they're part of a team, there's somebody listening to their issues. Second thing is you honestly, and this again will be a classic adage, but honestly you gotta pay people well and you gotta pay them on time. So I find, I completely believe in the term that if you throw peanuts, you get monkeys. So we have this policy that we pay a little bit better than the market, a little bit better. That also helps in poaching. I think AD and I are subjects of a lot of poaching that happens in this industry. But that's fine, that's part of the business, right? It happens in other industries as well. So if you pay them a little bit better, you make them see themselves as part of a bigger picture, and you are able to inspire them in some way and truly help them and carve a niche out for themselves, then you can actually retain the talent. So I think retaining the talent, in my opinion, is perhaps a little bit harder than even attracting it.
Saurabh? Yeah. On a different note, I think we've talked about, but you're helping bring a very interesting brand, Jamie Oliver, into India. And you were mentioning just now that it's taken over 8-10 months to develop the supply chain. What are the kind of challenges you face and how you guys have overcome in terms of getting in supply chain for a brand like that?
Jamie is all about good food, and they believe in a lot of provenance of food. There's nothing, not even a single ingredient, including the salt, which can come without being tested. Where is it coming from and stuff. And the most difficult part has been, sourcing the poultry and meats and fishery for the brand. And that is the only thing which in itself has taken us more than 3 months to source that, because they believe in the food ethos where, the chickens are supposed to be free range and there has to be enough sunlight and there has to be proper culling system. It has to be, stunned rather than cut. So all those things have taken a lot of time, and we've been working on that.
Sumeet, you brought Nando's into India, and so how are some of the challenges you faced in terms of getting people, to a brand when it was again not established? It started, I think it had a first run, and then before now, of course, very successful. But when you were not so, well known and successful in terms of how has the challenge been in terms of people?
Two things. One, as he mentioned, supply chain is always a big challenge. Especially challenge for brands which actually focus on freshness of product that they use. So chicken for us, for example, is fresh. We never freeze our chicken. And to find the right supplier, to find the right supply chain to make sure we deliver chicken where we have to in time was a big ask. It took us a bit of time. The other big thing for us, really the challenge is we have an IP which is the peri peri sauce. It's like the Coke Formula X. Now to import that into the country through the FSSAI, get the approvals, and then getting the chicken manufacturers to put in stuff so that we marinate chicken at the at where the chicken's getting produced was a big challenge. So those are the two critical things that we somehow overcame, and it's now running very well. But the big thing which I feel, once I've been in the industry, I'm a newbie actually versus everybody else who's on this table, is the right people to serve. So if you go to a Nando's internationally and you see the kind of people who are there, or the other, working in a restaurant is not a bad thing. But unfortunately, somehow, working in a restaurant in the Indian context is not looked upon. So hence, the people who are working in the restaurants is really a tough thing to get the right mix. And with the right amount of training, we do believe that we can succeed very well. Just like AD mentioned a while ago, the ESOP scheme that they have. Nando's globally has something where all the restaurant managers, what we call patraos, have skin in the game. So they actually act as owners, and they are incentivized on how well the restaurant does. So the quality of hiring, the training of people. So there's a two-way engagement which is from the restaurant manager and the company itself, which we are now trying to replicate in the country to make sure the standards keep going higher and higher up. And I think as more and more international chains come in and people see these jobs, Farzi for example, the way the guys dress, the way the guys talk, they know the product very well. So you've clearly spent a lot of time teaching them what the product is. It makes a big difference because you get the confidence when you consume. And more people like that as they come in, I think it is only going to get better, if nothing else.
Arjun, on a separate note, Select has been such a successful mall, and I think you've redone your food court. You're constantly got a churn, reasonable churn going on, which is excitement for the consumer and different brands. What is the philosophy behind doing that, and how have you kept the, from an F&B I know drives a lot of footfall to the mall?
So here goes. Retail is a very different ballgame as we've learned in this journey of building, running, developing Select City Walk. So when we first started in this journey, we really didn't understand the role and importance of F&B in contributing to footfalls. And I think in the initial stage of our lack of understanding, and I'm happy to share that, we probably kept F&B at about 10%. And we had a food court that had kind of no branded F&B, and we thought it shall pass. But as we realized and as we grew in the journey, we realized that the customer was getting more discerning. The customer was now relating more and more to brands, and I'm delighted to be on a panel with such fabulous restaurateurs, and I think whose brands have been hallmarked. And I think we figured that unless we start bringing them into the mall and making them as part of our offering to the customer, there's going to be no joy. So I think the journey started a few years ago when I think I met Zorawar, a very young man that time, and he came to me for his earlier avatar for Punjab Grill, and I kind of, we worked out something, and it was a very successful restaurant. And I think as we grew more comfortable working with it, we felt that we needed to expand in that horizon. The little disappointment we had was, I must say, in some of the international QSR brands. We were really not sure whether they were able to adapt themselves fully to the India story. And I think that is where some of the challenges are coming. McDonald's was a brand that wanted to be in Select City Walk from day one, and we hesitated. We didn't get them into the mall because we didn't believe that was really what the customer wanted, and I was right. Today we have a Burger King. I think they're halfway there. I don't think I'm fully happy with it. And I think given a choice, I would probably rather be happier with some of our Indian homegrown brands who I think make more effort, are more passionate, who build businesses and also attract the customer on their own right. So I think from that perspective, the journey has been interesting, and we're still evolving on it. We're evaluating a lot of brands. unfortunately at Select, much that Zorawar and AD would like to have more space, but we struggle with availability. The good news is that we're going to get about 80,000 square feet of additional FSI maybe in the next 1 year or so. And then I think more of their brands will be able to come in and make a significant mark to the customer offering that City Walk offers.